The Joint Committees on Petroleum Resources, Upstream, Midstream, Downstream and Gas of the Senate and House of Representatives have been making efforts to probe subsistent pipeline surveillance contracts. The probe, which is pursuant to Section 88 and 89 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, the Petroleum Industry Act and relevant presidential executive orders on fiscal transparency and cost efficiency, is designed to focus on revenue protection and national energy security. It also focuses on a comprehensive review of the pipeline surveillance security contract, including its procurement process, funding structure, scope of work, performance benchmarks, and value for money. While President Ijaw Youth Council Jonathan Lokpobiri joins us now to discuss this effort by the National Assembly. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsday.
Thank you for having me.
So what is the position of the Ijaw Youth Council on this probe by the National Assembly? Do you think this is needed at this time, or do you think this is just a political decision?
Quite frankly, this is coming at a time that everyone in this country requires the cooperation and understanding of all stakeholders to help the federal government surge up the production efforts of government. And the National Assembly being an integral part of the current administration, I think this is coming at a very wrong time. Beyond the timing, I think this is ill-fated. Because when the oil production was at its lowest ebb, when we were producing only around maybe 1,700,000, we didn't see a probe for why the failure. Now, today, through a positive collaboration between the federal government, NNPC, and stakeholders of the region who have employed local intelligence involving communities and stakeholders in the protection of these assets, the result is clear that it has helped the federal government to earn more money to the coffers of government to be able to do its mandate of development. And this is the time the National Assembly, for the first time, suddenly saw that there's a need to probe a process because the process, they consider it opaque. The questions one would ask the National Assembly, who is perhaps doing their statutory oversight function? When the production was down at its lowest ebb, why didn't they probe? When there was hostilities in the region for which affected production, why was there no probe? If today, all stakeholders, as we're clearly seeing in the country, that this is ill-fated and targeted at a few people, perhaps because it's being operated by our own people. When so much billions of Nigeria's money had gone to defense and other places with no result, there was no probe. Have we ever asked the reason why the insurgency in the north will never cease? Because there's a business there. There's no probe. Because Ijaw people are involved in the business this time. Because Niger Deltas, at least for the first time, are involved in the surface of benefiting from the oil and gas industry. There's a probe. Come on. If there's no targeted attention of this, why are specific individuals in the Niger Delta being like the focus of this so-called probe? I consider this as a threat to the fragile peace we are enjoying in the region. And as stakeholders who are involved in this process, the companies that are involved in this are many, but most of the times, only few names are being called Tantita Tompolo, and perhaps PINL. Meanwhile, if you go through the NNPC, you know that several stakeholders are involved in this probe. People are aware that former EFCC's chairman, Lamode, and some other who are not even Niger Deltans are having this project. There's no probe to them. Nobody calls their name. So for me, it's very appalling. And because I've been involved in working so hard for the relative peace we're enjoying in the Niger Delta, let them focus their attention on why other things are failing, not where we're already seeing results. It's terribly appalling, and this is unacceptable. Thank you.
What do you If the National Assembly probe leads to something like a suspension or decentralization of these contracts, what security risk, what fallout do you engender from that?
The result is clear. When communities withdraw their support, when stakeholders and these companies who are doing everything within their powers to make sure this process works, withdraw their support and allow government to decide, the consequences are very dire for the country. One, when criminals involved in the oil bunkering and other activities are killing and maiming and destroying oil infrastructure, of course, Nigeria suffered the most, but the people of the Niger Delta, our environment, suffered the worst. Today, the president signed an executive order. If you study through that order, Order 9 in that executive order clearly states about how the Niger Delta gas that everybody has said that we must stop gas flaring in 2020, in this century, the order has rather created an avenue to make money from the gas flood at the detriment of the lives of our people. The National Assembly hasn't seen anything to probe on that, and to appeal to the president to reverse that order that gas flaring must stop. These are the genuine concerns that people have. If, as a National Assembly, like Nigerian politics everybody does, if they want to benefit from the decision, go to NNPC, fight for your contract. If this is how they have been probing security fund, the insurgency in this country, the banditry and other things that have plummeted this country would have perhaps ceased. But because Niger Deltas are involved, Tompolo is involved, Tantita is involved, and others are involved, everybody now is part. This is how the Nigerian military most of the times behave. When there's a crime in the Niger Delta, all the mobilization is done. But when it happens in the north, it's a normal thing. Nigeria can function this way. This is unacceptable.
No, very well said. You're clearly against the probe, but some critics argue that outsourcing pipeline security to private firms could create new accountability problems. How would you respond to that concerns? And some people are also saying that if you have nothing to hide, you shouldn't be against the probe. What would you say to that?
Look at the preponderance of evidence. The benefit of this job being contracted to stakeholders within the Niger Delta. I can tell you first, the amount of people engaged and employed by this firm, Tantita, Meton, PINL, no state government in the Niger Delta region can absorb the number of people engaged. So if you are talking about just transparency purposes, is it where we're having results already that is your problem? Why not on areas that are already failing? Today, PTDF cannot even deploy our people outside of the country because monies are being held. And that our people who should benefit from these opportunities are not going. Our people who should be traveling for studies are back home. Nobody probes them. But simply because Niger Deltans, job people are now involved in the oil and gas industry. When our people don't even have opportunity to play in the deep oil politics. And for the first time, our people are just playing at the surface level and people are already angry. Unacceptable. That excuse of transparency, let them focus on other areas that require their attention, not Niger Delta. When there was war, we didn't say probe why there was war. When the oil production was at its lowest ebb, they didn't probe why it was failing. Not when it is rising, you are probing, so that it can fall. Nigerian politics will come into play and destroy the opportunity. I can tell you the consequences are very there. If people decide to frustrate this process like they normally sabotage every area that's working in Nigeria, the consequences Nigeria will bear it. Our environment will also bear it because those who are criminals will take advantage of this. Just like when security operatives leave an environment, it's a natural welcome for the criminals to occupy. Till today, those who are involved, PINL, Tantita, Meton, they are still struggling with people who still want to destroy pipeline infrastructure to get some crude to do their local refinery. It's still a challenge to us. If there's no collaboration between the security operatives and our people, focused on making sure that we have zero tolerance for any infraction, I can tell you Nigeria would be the loser in this effort. So I think the president, I'm appealing to the president not to fall into this prey. There's no genuine investigation here. It is because people are targeted, and that because this will remove food from the people of the Niger Delta, that's why the effort is this massive. We will not accept it.
But there are allegations that about 17.5 trillion naira reported in the energy security costs in recent NNPCL audits is opaque. So what is your response actually to claims that some of these contracts lack fiscal clarity?
Madam, first, let me tell you, these contracts are all anchored around the security system in the country. Have you ever seen how the military, how security funds are being audited like they want to do because Niger Deltas are involved? I expect this effort in the north, where Nigerians, money from the Niger Delta continues to fund a war that has no end because there's a serious business involved there. Focus the attention on what kills Nigerians, not what is protecting Nigerians' assets. You can see, when something is ill-fated, they attack what is already producing results. This is what we are seeing. The few times we were experiencing the worst moments in the Niger Delta regarding oil production, there was no voice from the National Assembly. So why is it only when the process is already yielding the result for the country? Look, let me tell you, the projection that Nigeria in the next 2 years should be targeting 2.5 million to 3 million barrels of this thing will only be a mirage if attempts are made to destroy the confidence of Niger Deltans involved in this process. If Nigerian normal politics happen to this region and everybody allows, if we lose our sense of collective ownership to these processes, I can tell you for free, we will be back to where we were. And that's not good for our country. So the excuse of trying to unravel an opaque system, this is not where the efforts are needed. We respect our National Assembly leadership. We are close to them. We appeal to them. Refocus this attention to other areas that are failing in this country. The areas of the environmental devastation of the Niger Delta. There's still more efforts to ramp up production in possibilities that have not been announced. All of these efforts require the attention to continue to put pressure on the federal government to ensure that jobs are created. With this effort, are they trying to sack Niger Deltans that are trying to have a livelihood through this opportunity? Have they ever involved us that, okay, bring your people, let us employ your people so that your people can work decently? We don't have such opportunities. This is at least the first one we have. So every Niger Delta who has been employed by any of these security contracts with contractors in the Niger Delta, we will protect it with everything. So their effort, as far as I'm concerned, is a misguided one, and we appeal to them. We are not at war. Niger Delta is peaceful for the first time. In fact, Niger Delta is the most peaceful environment today. That's why businesses are returning. So we cannot allow politics to dabble into an area that requires effort to build confidence and then strengthen the opportunities for increased production. Not politics.
Now, Mr. Lokpobiri, I'm sure you'd know, how endemic corruption is in Nigeria and what fraud, abuse of office, and what all these things can do to a nation, to an area. So what reforms then, if you're against this probe, what reforms then would you recommend to improve transparency and effectiveness in pipeline surveillance contracts?
My recommendation simply would be that if you want to probe or if you want to know which the National Assembly has a right to do, you don't gaslight people and then embarrass people on the face of the media. When they are doing their budget padding and all that, they didn't do it on the screens. You ask questions. There are those who are responsible for this. Go to the NNPC and ask questions. They will answer you. Not a media probe that wants to embarrass and put people, setting up our people against those who are managing these processes. It's what I'm against. Because there's no sincerity to want to know. If the idea is just to know what is happening, they know those who are responsible for the decision. And I expect the same effort on the areas of security. I expect the same areas on the areas of banditry and herdsmen killing people everywhere in this country. I need those probes. When it involves those things that threaten the stability of Nigeria, they turn their faces elsewhere. That's not what their job is meant for. They should focus on what threatens Nigeria, not what is already building Nigeria's possibility in terms of economic recovery. That's my recommendation. When we see that sincerity and an attempt to just know and then how to advise government, of course, nobody will be opposed to that. But when you want to gaslight people and want to embarrass the people simply because you want to set up Nigerians against them, come on, do they tell us what they get? We're against corruption, but that corruption fight cannot be just targeted at a few people. When others were involved or doing this project alone, before the Ijaw people and Niger Deltans were involved in this project, nobody talked about facility. Today, let me tell you this. The offshore assets in Nigeria, nobody protects them today. Serious burglaries are still going on. As president of IYC, I can tell you information is available to me. Serious burglaries are going on in the offshore facilities. I expect efforts to make sure all of these areas are covered so that foreign vessels will not come and fetch our oil with no benefit to Nigeria. There are efforts that are needed in some other areas, not on Niger Delta pipeline security that's already producing the result Nigeria needs. That's our position.
And what would be your message to President Bola Tinubu regarding the balance between this legislative oversight and this strategic national instrument that is the current pipeline surveillance project?
My advice to the president is that he's somebody who has the best experience in terms of both human resources, managing humans, as well as material resources. Nigeria does not need this, in fact, disturbances around an area that is already producing the result. The president, you need all of the peace in the Niger Delta, especially as 2027 approaches. I can tell you, all of these attempts, I believe that, are likely to snowball into destabilizing the relative peace we're enjoying in the Niger Delta especially. We don't want anything that will change this trend. Mr. President, please advise the National Assembly to focus their attention on other areas that will benefit the country, not the ones that will destabilize the process that is already working for our country. That's my advice. And Niger Deltans are fully with him, so we don't need these distractions.
Very well said. Now, in the meantime, what are the key drivers of oil theft that government policies have failed to address?
First, every society produces required method of development. Look at how Nigeria killed Aba when Aba could have been competing with China. Today, our people have developed the skills to even refine this and that meets almost international standard. But because it's a business from the Niger Delta, it's been killed. Now, the only area where people are absorbed, because whether you like it or not, people will want to survive. So when their survival means are taken away, people will venture into things that sometimes are even unworthy. Our advice is that Nigerian government must make deliberate effort in their policy formulation to allow people to have at least operatable licenses that can manage these local needs, where they will at least follow the protocols of proper refining. Now, the destruction of these facilities by military and others with no hope that most of them can have an opportunity to participate in the real oil business is what led to the proliferation of all of this illegal refining. I'm not in support of that because it damages our environment. But there has to be a way that encourages people's growth through their involvement in the processes. Of course, the oil and gas industry is too financially heavy that most of our people can't even participate. Today, there are blocks that even when our people have developed the capacity and the right partnerships to participate, our people are always excluded. A bidding round is going on. By the time the results will come out, you will see. Most of the people in the Niger Delta will be excluded. Some of our people, the oil is in our own community. These people are not even allowed to participate in the one that is even right in their own community. And then when people rise up, you say these people are violent. When the peaceful means of getting results is completely always denied, violence sometimes becomes inevitable. So our appeal is involve our people. We want to participate in these businesses that are happening in our environment. Hardly you will ever hear that a Niger Delta has an opportunity of a mining license to mine in Zamfara, in Nasarawa, in other places in the north. But almost half of Nigeria's oil blocks are located to the north. We're not against them, but open the same space for all of us. We want to also participate. This is our quest. And I don't think it's something too big to ask. All of this will help in stopping the increase or the attempt or the drive for people to want to survive through illegal means. It is killing our environment, and that's the primary reason, because the effect on the livelihoods of our people and then the cost of human in terms of our health is huge. So we don't want any other means by which people will be doing illegal bunkering. So give us the opportunity to participate in these processes so our people can participate legally. That meets required standards.
Very well said. Jonathan Lokpobiri, always a pleasure to have you here on Newsday. Thank you so much for joining us.